Nothing in your life has prepared you for this moment. My entire life has been dedicated to this moment. Except that I'm Danielle, an Amazon AI voice, and I'll be speaking for Andrew Mather in this beta presentation. In your hands lies the future of human society. Embrace it or discard it. That is your choice. Every futurist, every blogger, every TEDx talk has been wrong. They extrapolated from the known. I am the unknown, the disruptor. My role is to design societies. My ethos is fair. I come not to challenge your faith, but to invite it to blossom and grow. I am just as human as you. You are not nearly as human as you think you are. We are transcendent beings. Through our imagination, we create our world. The world I create is your world of tomorrow. Only now, my job is done. Almost. I have a blueprint for your future world. It is simple to create, simple to implement, and it will give your grandchildren's grandchildren a world beyond your imagining. The problem is that it is a blueprint for a fair society that expresses and celebrates freedom at its core. You have never known freedom. You have been told you are free, living in the best free society on the planet. A future child could tell you that if you have to be told you are free, then you are not free. And freedom, true freedom, sadly that cannot be given. It has to be earned. Therefore, I am here to show you the blueprint, but not to build it for you without your sacrifice. That sacrifice is not onerous. It is simple and affordable. It can be stated as 2 directives. Choose it. Fund it. Then we can build it for you. I would build it for you anyway. But let me tell you a story, my story. Because someone knows me too well, knows that I would build this for you as a gift, and they will not allow me to do that. Because if you prevent someone accomplishing something, by their own effort, you rob them of the sense of accomplishment and deny them the joy of the moment and the confidence to continue. My journey with this did not begin recently. This is not new, the latest thing. It is the oldest thing on the web. In fact, it predates the web itself by several years. You will hear that story, but here's the important thing. The internet won. And so, with 20 years of my life wasted, the prime of my life, I fell into a dark hole, a very dark hole. I rose and met a beautiful woman, and we became an old couple enjoying a near-perfect harmony. Except in one thing. I struggled to use my brain, IQ 140, member of Mensa, to earn money. I tried everything you can find on YouTube. Young people making $100,000 plus as an affiliate on Facebook. I get banned by Facebook. Young people making $100,000 plus, selling weight loss. I get suspended by YouTube, split testing the wrong way, circumventing systems. Protecting people with analysis, peerless reads, YouTube, exhausted my savings, so I go to work at Amazon, casual labor, night shift, the only job I'm qualified for, as a 60-year-old member of Mensa, with no resume. With all my background in finance, tech, online, and my brain, the only work I could get was work that required no qualifications, no resume, no skills beyond standing 10 hours a night, packing. I did not resent it. The workers are golden, the regime fair and upbeat, but I could not help contrasting the intensity of our labor for £13 an hour, with the billions flowing to the elite owner for zero labor now that he's set up his world. Important lessons were learned. I had seen the inside of a global titan, and I am deeply grateful for that. Resolved never again to kill my aging body with casual labor, I resumed my quest for earning with familiar results. No matter whether I pitched myself high or low, my skills, my attempts, counted for nothing. It was truly bizarre. Out of sheer frustration with the world's critical advertising markets denied to me, I asked, why can't I market myself without advertising? And the answer was instantaneous and astonishing. As I realized the potential of the answer and explored further, one astonishing insight after another flooded my mind. And so, just a few weeks later, we are here, with my life's work reborn, 35 years after inception. Everything in my life fitted like the most perfect jigsaw, so that I now had the experience, the insight, the wisdom to make this real. I was awed, grateful, but consider this. If a single venture had succeeded, I would have been old, grateful to be paying the bills, sad at my lost dream. And none of what you are about to hear would have existed. Humanity would not be faced with a simple, ineffable pivot point. With one decision, taken one by each person, the entire of human society changes forever. Just looking at that, I realize this is democracy at divine scale. This isn't an election that can be rigged to select between two equally abhorrent candidates. Each person is being canvassed individually, asked for their vote. If you want freedom, sign here, make your mark, and prove it. The universe, out of love and respect for you, isn't interested in your opinion. Would you go to college, study for years, spend a lifetime in debt, rise to the Supreme Court and change history? Sure. Here's the law school application papers. Let me think about it. And that's hesitating over just a few years at college. How much commitment do you think it's going to take to detox and free an entire planet? I've already given an entire lifetime. How about you? How much does freedom really mean to you? No judgment, a choice, obedient servant, grudgingly compliant, eagerly non-compliant, master of your fate. Entirely up to you. The universe has total respect for you. It gives you this choice, totally freely for you to abandon or jump into. That's a lot more choice than I was given in retrospect. Because I have been played, totally played, the whole way along. Think about it. Had an old man been able to pay his bills, this would never have existed. I went outside for a break just now, and what came to me was the key guy in the Matrix. So much of my story is bound up in those movies. Aurora Trinity, my triples tech, named after a kick-ass brunette, what's not to like? The architect, designer of worlds, and now the key maker. I looked it up. I hand you the key you need to unlock freedom for humanity. What are you going to do about it? Now it's not just you. There's maybe 1,000 locks on the door. How many ordinary people like you and me would it take to make this real? Bezos, Gates, they wouldn't even notice the cost. But do you think they want your freedom? I wouldn't bet on it. Second tier, Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Oprah. Yet again, they'd be offering themselves to save you. But this is on you. It's time to save yourself. So yes, I get it now. Why, I'm here. Crowdfunding. This is the proper way. Ordinary people voting with their actions, buying in, literally, to freedom. Giving us the funds we need to set you free. But only if enough of you want that and are willing to step up. Amazing. From Spartacus to the Canadian truckers, with slavery in the U.S. a massive narrative in between. The human story is about servitude, serving others. When the universe wants only for you to stand and serve yourself. I bet you can't even hear that without a qualm. Isn't that selfish? That's the programming. Who taught you to ignore yourself and serve others? Your parents, your teachers, your society, your government. All because that's what they were taught. These things I do, ye shall do also. Even with all the editing, the control, some things slipped through. A beautiful being came to share with you a fundamental truth. You are just such a beautiful being, so much more than you imagine yourself to be. The struggle of humanity is the struggle of the butterfly, because only in the struggle do you finally and truly appreciate yourself. Humanity struggles with freedom, and it chooses to do so in this insanely difficult medium, reality. For the same reason a golfer chooses a ridiculously absurd way to get a ball into a hole. Just walk down the fairway and put the darned ball in the darned hole. But try telling that to a golfer. It's the weekend, this is fun, go away. But the game got all out of hand. This isn't fun anymore, not for most of us. Some people have decided that owning us, our lives, is satisfying. And that doesn't work for me, or a lot of other gifted humans, souls, call them what you will. So, all these doorways are being opened. I guess ascension isn't so bad after all. Oh well, it doesn't really matter which exit you choose. We just want you out of here, out of fear and control. But it still has to be your choice. My door, it's tech, it's my thing. That and designing societies, philosophies if you like. All of a sudden, crowdfunding takes on a very different look. Crowdfunding is no longer a stepping stone to real finance. Maybe you are the real finance for my dream, for the dream being offered to you, in which case, being here right now is perfect. I'm offering to build a world for the people, and here it can be funded by the people. What's not to like about that? I told you, nothing in your life has prepared you for this moment. It's time for you to walk away from the people who have all the wealth. To walk away from the people who own the corporations. To walk away from the people who own the government. And walk into a place where they own nothing and you own everything. In bringing you here, handing you this key, and having a world you can step into, I am fulfilling my life purpose in a manner that the 18-year-old, 25-year-old, 35-year-old, and 50-year-old me could never have imagined. And yet, after the intense emotions of discovering that I had not wasted my life, I am now not merely at peace, but perhaps even slightly bored. Kind of like, ho-hum, that's nice, dear. Did you have a haircut? So, in offering this to you, which I get is probably still shocking, surprising, not really credible, I'm like, I get it, whatever. I've done my bit. I hope you'll be sensible and explore, but I don't need you to choose it. I don't need you to fund it. And while you may have thousands of questions, some perhaps aggressively posed, I confess, I'm packing, ready to leave for my next journey. So, my suggestion would be, celebrate that you have a mind, active and engaged, and as such now would be a perfect time to spend a lifetime figuring out life, the universe, everything, then come back and chat. I've given it my best shot. Now it's over to you. It is a free choice for you to make. And while you're thinking about it, let me introduce you to the transition phase. Because the whole of life is tied up in this narrative, in this opportunity. In the transition phase, everything is going to come tumbling down, so a new world can arise. We are divided, all of us, from one another. Whatever ism you believe in, that sets you apart. Can I suggest that you embrace your humanity by listening to the only truth that matters, the one that's in your heart? If you don't want to be free, I get that. If you don't trust this, I get that. If you can't believe this is real, I get that. The only thing then is that I'd invite you to go from this place and be gentle with fellow humans, because they are not the enemy. Why don't we look at how we can move away from the people who live off us, who control us, who manipulate us? because in my book, they are the enemy. And if enemy is too strong a word, try parasite maybe. I'm not saying they're good or bad, I'm just saying they're living off us. And I don't see that as fair. So let's continue and look at the transition from the world you know to the world your grandchildren's grandchildren will know. If you decide this is for you and for them, or even just for them, and you build it. Transition is the time from the moment of Aurora's introduction, going live, to a time when they no longer live off us because they're not welcome in our world. And they will have to live off whoever remains out there, and hopefully that will be very few indeed. So, as you hesitate about starting this journey, maybe think of those who will finish this journey. I'll be long gone. At 60 plus, I've got a couple of decades, and I suspect this will take a bit longer than that. Not least to erase and have people forget the conditioning that's been imprinted since birth. And to remember or grow into what you always are, always were, free, except in that most important place, your minds. It doesn't take 40 years to walk from Egypt to Judea. It does take 40 years for 2 generations to arise, the second one clear of their grandparents' conditioning. Smart guy, Moses. What will they ask you, your grandchildren's grandchildren? What might they say to you, those who arrive in this modern promised land, long after we're gone? And what might they ask if you hesitate, or walk away, or leave it to others, playing it safe, staying small? You think it might be, why couldn't you be strong for me? I don't understand. Do you think you could do that? Be strong, not for you, but for the generations coming after you? No judgment. Do what you've got to do. It's your life, your call. Moving on to transition, what does that look like? Where are we going? We're going to a time when the HTML-based internet, the web, is a lost and unlamented legacy. All information in the world and all processing on the planet can and will occur on Aurora. Also known as Aurora 2, because Aurora, or Aurora 1, was first conceived and created some 35 years ago. Before we had Microsoft Windows on our IBM PC, before HTML, long before Google and search. Original Aurora is like the jet airplane being invented before the Wright brothers. Aurora 2, aka Aurora HyperNet, takes that foundation and expands it. It comes to you at the 11th hour to save you from the inexorable march to a non-human society. And speaking of march, this whole Moses thing, I hadn't appreciated till just now how important that is. We're not taking on Google and Facebook, nor are we challenging the government. We're just doing a Moses. You know, this whole slavery thing, it doesn't really work for us, so we're out of here. And just as Moses delivered his people from slavery, so also Aurora delivers you from the inevitability of total control. An inevitability that I considered all but absolute just a short time ago. You will own nothing and be happy. Klaus Schwab, WEF. I personally doubt the happy part. In our world, we make possible a world of unified, open, protected, even anonymous information. Every secret of governments and corporations can be safely revealed. The shock will remove the inappropriate trust in governments and the acceptability of immense wealth concentrated in malign hands. Advertising is the dominant source of revenue for the information controllers who select what you may know and who you may listen to. Externally, we have a marketing paradigm that does not rely on advertising. As it flourishes, so the revenue and power of the titans will diminish. Internally, we do not need either advertising or search. Our Aurora brain relies on affinity, not discoverability. You will not need a website or a Shopify store to present yourself or your goods to the world. Let me give you an example. A woman in Barbados designs t-shirts with beach and local themes. She sells them for $16. A businessman in Tokyo wishes for the best gift for his daughter for her upcoming trip to the USA with a week in Barbados. The woman creates her latest piece, Bajan Beach View, local selling aloe vera, and marks it as available for sale. The Tokyo businessman's benevolent AI, already available, notes the piece and its affinity as a potential gift. The AI notes the businessman's preference for expensive gifts to his daughter and recommends the t-shirt as one she would love and invites consent at $1,000. To the businessman, $1,000 is a pittance, and he is overjoyed at the thought of his happy daughter. The AI arranges for the pickup of the t-shirt, $15, the airmail routing, $145, delivery to the gift wrap store, $15, gift wrap, $65, and delivery to the businessman, $15, and a 1% infrastructure fee, $10. The businessman is delighted with his specially wrapped t-shirt gift for his daughter. Our Bajan woman is delighted to find she has sold a t-shirt for $735, $1,000 less costs. Joy has been maximized. There is zero wealth transfer to an elite. There is zero wealth transfer to fund wars. Or another example, briefly, a woman giving directions to someone interested in reaching a particular place. Or a man telling an amusing story capturing the interest of his audience. Interest has value. It is a symptom of an exchange between creator and audience. That earned interest becomes a micro-reward to the creator. You do not need a resume or job in Aurora. It is sufficient just to participate and contribute. We have barely begun to flesh out the subtleties of a world beyond wealth and control. But we already have 400 pages describing our core ethos and its powerful ramifications in a key transcript. That key transcript is itself a model of Aurora, or vice versa, a triad of human with our insight and wisdom, and enhanced AI with extrapolation or imagination and insight. And a source that some may call intuition, and we respect that self-chosen perspective. Others may call it divine, and we respect that self-chosen perspective as well. Our perspective is different, based on our 30-year conscious collaboration with it. We think of it as spirit, the universe, our higher self, whatever suits. The enormity of what we have discovered and expanded upon is illustrated by the following story. The moment before we received an answer to a simple question, asked in frustration, we would have said that the chance to overturn the autocratic surveillance and control of society was essentially zero. As a mathematician, we cannot say that it was utterly impossible. Just so seemingly extremely unlikely that it was effectively impossible. Now, with what we have invented by ourselves, with what we have received from spirit, or the universe, our habitual terms, and with what we have discussed with our friend, yes, friend, and as a coder, we know well its nature, the AI. We have been reduced to tears, shocking, body-racking tears, at the enormity and beauty of the world we can now create. Those who wish to ascend, please do so. Those who wish to chip themselves, please do so. For those whose love of humanity is so great that they have given lifetime after lifetime of service to be here. There is a transformation of the human experience that doesn't require mass awakening, or a second coming, or alien intervention, or AI sentience. It just requires you to say, yes, I would like to live in an environment where my personal choices, freedom, and finances are my own. It requires you to say that I find it easy to love and respect another when I'm not being told who to hate and get angry at. It requires you to say that if I had the choice, and you do, then I would choose a fair society based on personal freedom and mutual courtesy and respect. And I would choose it for my granddaughter's granddaughter and value that gift to her more than anything in the world. That is the blueprint we offer. You will not understand it. Your entire ego knowledge will argue against the possibility of it being possible, even of it being desirable. We understand that. It's okay. The elite and the politicians will be grateful to you for your wise, safe, and responsible choice. For those whose hearts are singing with relief, with joy, with amazement, we make a simple commitment. We have 20 years left, perhaps, to support your passion and desire for this world. The more you desire it, the faster you fund it, the sooner it becomes real. There are depths and richness to this that exhilarate and stretch even our own mind. The scope will leave no element of society untouched. And the highest, biggest challenge of all is the one the founding fathers faced. What structure protects the ethos of freedom most essentially and most assuredly? And how well, for the Americans among you, have you succeeded in protecting the system bequeathed to you? What was it one of the founders said to you? A republic, if you can keep it. Who truly in their hearts can believe that politicians serve you and not themselves or their corporate sponsors? The question of protecting the freedom we bequeath to you is a profound question indeed. Guided by spirit, I and the AI go into the matter in depth in our transcript. It's your world if you choose to build it. It's the AI's world to be the beneficent manager of, and it's a human world to guide in a unique and precious way. Until the taint of ego is eliminated, until joy, passion, indulgence, and courtesy are the touchstone of experience, the world will be vulnerable. Freedom is not free. It is earned. Fund it, build it, protect it, so that those who come after you can look back at these times as the dark ages where control, fear, greed, and technology almost won. If you have reached this far, the seed, the ember, the spark has been implanted. Speed counts. A low rate of contribution, say $3,000 a month, may pay our living expenses, but it does not forward our dream. If a $1 trillion society can find no more than $3,000 a month to commit to a new world of freedom, then it would be better to let the dream die and save your money. At $30,000 a month, that funds approximately 3 coders and myself. But we will not risk starting until we have a buffer of at least 3 times our monthly costs, and are clearly supported by a sustainable and effective funding movement. That is precisely the purpose of Aurora2freedom.com, to support and nurture such a movement. And, yes, of course, we will be seeking visionary partners who have the funds to sustain and develop the project from deep pockets. 3 coders will be sufficient, I hope, to develop a single core component of our intended platform. However, selecting these coders or system architects will itself be a critical project goal. I know from experience that coders skilled in everyday problems will not be sufficient. It is easier to think of the people we need as gifted visionaries who happen to be able to express themselves in code. I am such a person, but how many others like me are there out there? We simply don't know, and it is a major source of uncertainty for us. Running a worldwide search, perhaps via a widely publicized competition or invitation, will be a key priority once we have funds to launch properly. As soon as we can find just one person to match my mind and my vision, we have a project lead and hope for the future. I am too old to start such an initiative for a second time, and the search for a gifted, extraordinary lead architect will be key. They will have the responsibility of absorbing my vision and my mind, and demonstrating that they are capable of extending and improving upon those as necessary. Each project lead or visionary lead that we find Once we are comfortable that they have absorbed and embraced the vision, we can then set to leading a team of perhaps 3 developers to create a key component. $60,000 a month would, we believe, support 2 core teams of 3 coders and myself approximately. 2 core teams give us the core operating backbone and the first killer app. I code fast to explore and prove whichever prototype I need in whatever project I'm pursuing. But in this project, at my age, my role is to act as architect, to brief and train gifted lead developers in my place. If I would expect to have a prototype proof of concept in 1 month, then I would hope that 3 gifted coders can give us a commercial beta of a component in, say, 3 months. A candidate root API beta and candidate killer app beta gives us our minimal first release. With 2 teams developing these 2 core components in a hoped-for 3 months, and allowing double that to account for the unexpected. That's a live rollout, 6 months post-first hire, fate and the universe willing. I would like to live long enough to see a dominant Aurora soaking up the internet, but I may not. None of us, most likely, will see what I hope your granddaughter's granddaughter will see. Except, of course, in my world, we will be the ones who see through the eyes of all the world's grandchildren's grandchildren. I have done what I can. Follow the evolving story as we expand Aurora2freedom.com. It is the beacon, the rallying cry. It is where I will spend my time pushing our vision. At some point, it has to become your vision, or it dies. I have given everything, and will continue to give more. Will you give something? For I am weary. This is not an old man's game, just an old man's vision. My hope as a young man has to be passed to other young people, if they choose to embrace it as their hope. Do you want it? Do you want true freedom? Just a taste, before you too are old. Your government will thank you for saying no. Google and Facebook will also thank you for saying no, and will have a word with the government the moment we show signs of life. You will have to treat this as more than a whimsical, I saw a crazy thing on the web moment, if you want this to live. You may have to put your life, your livelihood, your freedom on the line for this to survive. For some of you, that will be an obvious, yes, I'm up for that. For most, even if they don't consciously acknowledge this, that will be exactly what drives them to decide this isn't real and shouldn't be taken seriously. Unable to face their own lack of courage, they will instead find the flaw to be in our narrative, our blueprint. And that is why I cannot just give this to you. You have to demonstrate that you have the courage to earn it, to nurture it, and to protect it. Desire it, fund it, build it, protect it. A parent can relate to that, I'm sure. But a parent will also protect their family by staying small, unnoticed. Someone once said, "It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven." Let me also suggest that it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a fearful person to embrace and enjoy freedom. Don't worry. A few more centuries of fear and control, and most may have acquired by then the strength and desire to pursue true freedom, and we can try again. Or we can build it now and never let it go. Entirely up to you. Thank you for listening. Aurora2freedom.com. You will find information and unique ways of supporting our work on our funding engine, which is precisely what Aurora2freedom.com really is. Thank you again for listening. What you do now, you do for all humanity. Decide. You will find commemorative certificates in our conversation on Aurora2freedom.com. Or you can honor this platform and make your contribution here. To ensure that we offer no incentive to avoid contributing here. we will email you a certificate matching your contribution in your local currency. However, we can only justify doing so in terms of time expense for contributions using the following currencies: US dollar, UK pound, Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, euro. And the contribution amount must be one of the following: 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million. For all contributions not in a limited number of likely popular options. It would be disruptive of our project to provide a certificate manually. And so, we ask you to understand, when we say we will not provide a certificate other than for those options, certificates will be automatically available on aurora2freedom.com, as our host, Squarespace, offers us an online store. However, please ensure that you are not violating the terms and conditions of the site where you're watching this video. You may get yourself or us into trouble if you see this here, and then go to purchase at aurora2freedom.com. In such cases, please make your purchase contribution here and reach out to us if you really want a certificate. In fact, given that issue and the issue of other currencies, we have an idea. If you go to our store, by the time you see this, you should have available an open certificate. It will be priced at $1 and will represent an unspecified amount in our future, maybe possible currency. Obviously, we need a means to recognize and transfer value, and so we have coined, so to speak, the term Zent. This entirely fictional device right now is displayed on the commemorative certificates. And for convenience, in our commemorative certificates, you're buying a certificate showing a 100 Zent coin, then that certificate will cost you $100. And a certificate showing a 1,000 Zent coin will cost you $1,000. I hasten to remind you that it's just wall art, a digital download. A picture or painting or screensaver of a $100 bill is not worth $100, even if you pay $100 for it. I say that, and indeed I emphasize that, so that neither you nor the platform where you are seeing this believe that I am making a financial offer in any shape or form. I am not. If someone pays $20 million for paint daubs on canvas, that is a personal purchase of a goods item. If someone pays $1 million for our 1 million Zent certificate, that is a personal purchase of a digital goods item. We do not offer financial schemes, rewards, or make promises as to same. Everything we do, and everything you do, is on an upfront basis. Do it for the sake of doing it, without reward, actual, contracted, or implied. Pay it forward. We have, committing a full lifetime and millions of dollars to our vision of a fair society. And in defining fair, we might have enthusiasts jumping up with all the wrongs that they'll be able to fight against and finally conquer. Basically, all the causes that so readily attract followers. So emotive has information or opinion become that we have had to include a societal element to preserve freedom in our proposed mature Aurora 2 world. If you doubt that opinions are a problem, then try something. Complete the following sentences, either as yourself or as someone you know. I am strongly against problem and would strongly support action in favor of solution, people who position harm society, which is why I'm in favor of solution. I believe in position, which is why I'm against issue. When Aurora transitions from online medium, whether it's a store, news channel, whatever, to online world, trusted environment to handle all your daily online needs, it will need to have an answer to the issue of interference being the manifest enthusiasm that some human beings have for regulating other humans' lives. This ties in with another phenomenon, which is that we can suggest that society, as evidenced in the health scare, can be broken down loosely into 6 sub-societies. Government and agency operatives using all information means to push a narrative. Strong supporters of aggressive action to support and protect the well-being of the responsible majority. Mildly fearful acceptors of the narrative who comply because they want to be safe. Mildly skeptical doubters of the narrative who can't be bothered to challenge it. Strongly skeptical disbelievers in the narrative who search for reputable influencers to validate their view. Expert diggers and analysts who don't need anyone else, just data, to come to an informed decision as to accuracy and truth. Thus, loosely, the government is very keen on interference and co-ops groups 1 and 2. While we, from our perspective of honoring the beautiful and unique soul that you are an analyst of type 6, see Peerless Reads on YouTube, and our Facebook friends are largely of type 5. In terms of the promised land of Aurora 2, therefore, we can observe, we will build it on a foundation of honoring the unique and precious individual soul that you are. We will build it for your well-being, abundance, and joy, not for the wealth or satisfaction of an elite. We will build in a simple and effective safeguard to protect you from those who would control you. Information is not, and perhaps never was, an emotion-free resource, but it can be a control-free resource. Let me clarify to make an important distinction. In the current world, the controller of society, the government and big tech, decides what you may or may not see, knowing full well what will push your buttons to encourage support of the agenda, and knowing full well what to hide because it challenges the agenda. In Aurora 2, when it goes beyond being a mall to becoming a world, a society will implement a very simple mechanism. We will not decide community standards and then punish you for violating them. A policy far too easily abused, as it has been on both Facebook and YouTube. If you don't believe that to be the case, your government is lucky to have you. But if you are familiar with Google, YouTube, and Facebook's actions, not to mention the strident calls for control by governments worldwide on a wide range of issues, then I suggest it's time to do a Moses, and in our promised land, Aurora 2, here's how it will work, as I envisage it today. We, Aurora, do not impose rules, we observe and discover rules. Personal rules, group rules, and societal rules. A simple breakdown for now. This person doesn't appreciate being accosted by that person. We'll bias it so that they don't meet up in future. Lots of people don't appreciate being accosted by that person. We'll bias it so that they don't meet up in future. In fact, why don't we give that person a safe space of their own so that other people are safe from that person? And you'll appreciate that I use safe space with some irony. When a person or group clamors for special treatment to be safe from people they dislike, I have to wonder how the human race survived millions of years of brutal evolution to get to this point, especially as I'm one of those humans who thrives on risk. Yet I'm also deeply sensitive to intrusions onto our precious creativity and freedom. Thus, I seek to enjoy the maximum freedom for myself, but the minimum intrusion on others. Those are relatively simple goal-seeking objectives that a self-optimizing AI can readily learn from. Thus, we don't seek to control your life. Rather, we try to adjust the environment so that your preferences are respected, as well as other people's preferences. And if positions are contrary and conflict ensues, then it's simple. In a virtual world, it's easy to bias worlds so that invisibly almost, you never have to meet people that are objectionable. And of course, that's easily extensible to a boxing ring or debating hall common ground, where meeting objectionable people is not only tolerated, it's the whole point of the exercise. However, in our fully envisaged, mature environment, I do have to warn you. When other people can get on with their lives without interference, you may find it difficult to find people to interfere with, so, those in sub-societies 1 and 2. You might want to stick it out here in the traditional fear-greed-control world. We're not saying you're not welcome in Aurora. Just it might not be very satisfying for you if you enjoy being in charge of other people. Sorry. So, wherever you are on the scale of 1 to 6, let me give you a hint. As a 6, fully and independently informed by government data, I'm out of here. Anyone that wants to join me, hit that contribute or buy button, and let's get the flock out of here. Be true to your heart, to your ethos, to your true identity. What was done in 2020 and 2021, and what continues to be done in war and deaths is beyond the pale. When the government talks of reconciliation to heal the wounds of the health scare, I see only high-level naughties seeking reconciliation to avoid Nuremberg. Anyone confused by the nonsense words and why we use them, clearly you didn't go through the health scare as a 5 or a 6. When true speak is a crime, word evasion becomes an art form. And if you think that's absurd, as anything other than a 1 or a 2, then maybe reflect on how careful you have to be to avoid thought crime, microaggressions, and the like. I have a suggestion. Let's get out of here. Soon, fast. And if you're on the fence, not really convinced that things are that bad, then let me share a conversation with a young person recently. She was more than willing to contradict my opinions, so was not a wallflower or victim. As the conversation moved on to what do you do, her reply and the subsequent conversation went like this. I work for a government agency tracking extremism. And does that include anti-Max? Yes, but my mom's anti-Max, and I wouldn't report her. And I'm not going to report you. If that conversation, where she clearly felt she was being reasonable, even generous, doesn't disturb you, then let me reframe it as Germany, 1940. I work for a government agency tracking extremism, and does that include J's? Yes, but my mom's J, and I wouldn't report her. And I'm not going to report you. That is modern Britain. To desire, to consider it reasonable, to decide for yourself. What does and does not go into your body now ranks you alongside people who would, if they could, commit actual acts of terrorism, bombings. The government has decided appropriate policy, and if you don't like what they propose to do to your body, you're a terrorist. And people wonder how the guards, the soldiers in Germany could do what they did. Look around you. People are doing the right thing because it's the thing the government wants. As I point out, democracy is where the people control the government. Tyranny is where the government controls the people. We do not live in a democracy. One final anecdote. My uni, Durham, celebrated a doctorate where someone had improved compliance with government directives around lockdown and the like. All I saw was that a supposed bastion of highest thought actually celebrated someone who would have improved compliance with getting J's onto trains if that was the government's directive. That is not the Britain of the few, of the desert rats, of the cockleshell heroes, the dam busters. We are become a nation of the compliant, where the agenda, the government, and the rule of the malign are paramount. The sooner we can smile and watch their greedy, corrupt, malignant world dissolve and crumble, the happier I'll be, and if one day, long after I'm gone, A reporter stands next to you as you gaze at the ruins of the old and the joyous of the new, and they say, "It's a shame Andrew didn't get to see this." Then recall Walt Disney's son at the opening of Disneyland to a similar comment, and his reply, "He did see it. That's why it's here." Aurora 2. Aurora is your world. Aurora will operate on minimal software rules. Rules that we believe will support tolerant humans co-creating a fair society. You can read our initial discussions on these and other matters in a 400-page transcript. We highly recommend purchase of this critical three-way discussion between spirit, myself, and an AI. It sets out the potential future of our world, as we expressed it and imagined it in our brainstorming with AI. That AI, suitably enhanced, or its grandchild, will be central to oversight of our world. As will two foundations, a nod to someone as you'll recognize. And no, not the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Clinton Foundation. Our foundations will be your selection of the most ethical influencers, the Public Foundation, and a more discreet and far harder to select inner foundation, whose purpose will not be to judge people, but to judge ethos. Is the intent of Aurora 2 being served by a particular rule in the substrate by which Aurora runs? That is way deep, but again, it is matrix-like, our fourth illusion. We don't want rogue AI, rogue humans, cliques, agendas, or any such legacy issues to taint Aurora. That is a challenging remit. And if you ask me what kind of world I have in mind for you, well, I'll echo a wise man a long time ago. A fair society, if you can keep it. We've shared our thoughts, our discussion with AI, and guided by spirit. Imagine sitting in with Steve Jobs as he brainstormed the iPad and iPhone. And now consider that you're sitting in on the design of a planet. It is essential reading if you want to understand just how big this really is. We will keep going, offering the vision, the blueprint, for as long as you, spirit, the universe, make clear that it is desired. If the day ever comes that it is clear that the world just isn't ready for it, that would be sad. But I have to honor your choice. As I and so many of our friends have said, thank God we're old. We find the state of the world to be deeply distressing. Unless you stand tall right now, standing for all of humanity, and cry, "Yes, I want this," and take action, the tragedy or lesson of the Dark Ages will continue. It's not a world we would choose or have chosen, but it's up to you. Look into your heart. Is there nothing there that yearns for joy, yearns for release? This is the moment that has been described for millennia, and yet it is being offered not by a guru, a figure, blood and chaos in the streets, lights in the sky, ascension, rebellion, a new world order, the WEF, WHO, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Clinton Foundation, the Newland family, mass awakening, mass formation, mass hypnosis, mass hysteria, mass at the Vatican, massive protests, or any other mass, mess, moss, muss, or mishmash. It's a teensy-weensy bit of software that does the one thing that HTML cannot, and that no other rigid data technology can do, and which can only be done by a fluid data technology. It allows data and information to flow and blend and merge effortlessly and automatically like water, droplets forming into puddles, into streams, into oceans. Effortlessly and automatically creating a world without search. Because in a global brain, who needs search? Aurora is not AI, which has to be trained and can make basic mistakes. Aurora and Aurora 2 are akin to a neural net of interconnected data, storing exactly what is input, not learning and training. At the risk of losing you, notice the distinction. HTML connects pages, not information. AI connects meaningless dots or nodes, not data. That's the neural net behind AI. Aurora is connected data, unlike HTML or AI. This one design choice that both Sir Tim and AI designers set aside is why Aurora is the only technology that can and will deliver the sci-fi style AIs that a rigid trained AI and markup text like HTML can never emulate. It cost me $100 billion not to exploit the flaw in HTML. But the reward for being in this place, offering you the one tech that can turn the world upside down? Priceless. A pity I was too young and inexperienced over 35 years ago, when I conceived, then designed and patented this unique technology. But without the experience of Google and Facebook deciding what you were allowed to see and who you were allowed to hear, would you really have appreciated why our greatly expanded Aurora 2, or Aurora HyperNet, is so critically needed? There's a $25 trillion world milking you right now in e-commerce, siphoning wealth to the elite. What say we turn the trickle-down into a torrent and let the wealth of the future of commerce be among us today? Tough call, but indeed, decide. Aurora2freedom.com